The first time I saw the website, I wasn't looking for anything illegal. I wasn't looking for violence. I wasn't looking for stolen information. I was just bored. It was almost 2 in the morning, and I had been scrolling through an old discussion forum when someone posted a link with no description. There was only one sentence above it. "Don't open this unless you're prepared to be recognized." I almost ignored it, almost. This is Tales of the Dark, and what happened next started with one stupid click. The link didn't look unusual. There was no strange warning from my browser, no flashing images, no obvious signs that I had entered somewhere I shouldn't. Just a black page with a small amount of white text in the center. "You are curious." Underneath it was another sentence, "That is why you are here." I stared at it for a few seconds, then I laughed. I thought it was some kind of interactive horror website. The sort of thing someone makes to scare people. At the bottom of the screen was a single button, Enter. I clicked it. The page went completely black. For maybe 5 seconds nothing happened. Then a message appeared, "Welcome back." I froze. I had never seen the site before. At least I didn't think I had. I moved the mouse toward the browser tab. That's when another message appeared. "Pretend you don't remember US." I closed the tab immediately. I shut the laptop and went to bed. I told myself it was nothing. Somebody had probably designed the website to make people uncomfortable. That was the whole point. The next morning I had almost forgotten about it, almost, until I opened my laptop. The website was open again. I stared at the screen. I hadn't bookmarked it. I hadn't saved the page. I had closed the browser completely the night before, but there it was, the same black background, the same white text, except this time there was a new message, "You left before we finished." I checked the browser history. There was nothing, no record of the website. I checked my downloads, nothing. I restarted the laptop. The page disappeared. I convinced myself that some browser glitch had caused it. Then I noticed something underneath the message, a small box. It contained my first name, not my username, not my email, my actual first name. I hadn't typed it anywhere. I closed the laptop. That was the moment I should have stopped. Instead, I became curious. And curiosity was exactly what the website seemed to understand. That night I went back, not through the original link. I searched for the name of the site on the forum where I'd found it. The thread was gone. So were the comments. Even the account that had posted the link had disappeared. I searched through cached discussions and old posts until I found somebody mentioning the same website. There was a warning. It doesn't show you what you search for, it shows you what you've been hiding. I read that sentence 3 times, then I opened the site again. This time the page was different. There were no buttons, no menus, just a black screen. And one question, "What are you afraid of?" I typed, "Nothing." The screen changed immediately. Liar. I felt a strange chill run through me. Then another message appeared. "You're afraid someone will see what you keep deleting." I stopped breathing for a second because that was true. A few months earlier, I had been keeping a private journal on my laptop. Nothing criminal, nothing dangerous, just personal thoughts that I didn't want anybody else reading. I had deleted most of it. At least I thought I had. I clicked away from the page. The site changed again. A list appeared. There were no words explaining what the list was, just dates. 5 dates, all from the previous year. I recognized every one. They were the dates I had written the journal entries. I leaned back from the screen. Then a 6th date appeared, tomorrow. I stared at it. A sentence appeared underneath. "You haven't written that one yet." I shut the laptop. This time I didn't reopen it. I went to work. I tried to forget about everything. But all day I kept thinking about that date, tomorrow. There was something about it that bothered me more than the website itself. Because if this was some kind of prank, somebody knew things about me. And if it wasn't a prank, I didn't want to think about that. That evening I checked the laptop again. The site was gone. I searched the computer. Nothing, no suspicious files, no strange programs, nothing that explained what I had seen. For the first time I started thinking that maybe I had imagined part of it. Then my phone buzzed. It was a notification from an unknown number. There was no message, just a photograph. I opened it. It was a picture of my apartment building, taken from across the street. At night, I recognized the angle immediately. The photograph had been taken from the sidewalk outside a small convenience store near my building. I had walked past that exact location earlier that evening. I zoomed in. My apartment was visible on the 4th floor. My bedroom window was dark. I looked outside. Nobody was standing across the street. I checked the time on the photograph. 11:43 p.m. The current time was 11:49. 6 minutes. Whoever took that picture had been there 6 minutes earlier. I called the number. It didn't connect. I tried again. Nothing. Then another message arrived. Don't look outside. I stood completely still. For several seconds I didn't move. Then I slowly walked toward the window. I stopped before reaching it. I didn't look outside. Instead, I turned off every light in the apartment. I sat on the floor with my back against the wall, and I waited. Nothing happened. No footsteps, no knocking, no phone calls. After almost an hour, I finally convinced myself that whoever sent the photograph was trying to scare me. Maybe it was someone from the forum. Maybe somebody had tracked me. Maybe they had found my social media. There had to be an explanation. Then my laptop turned on by itself. I heard the fan start. The screen illuminated the room. I didn't touch it. I walked over slowly. The dark website was open again. This time there was no question, there was no warning, there was only a live video. My room, my apartment, my camera angle. I could see myself sitting across the room. For a few seconds, I couldn't understand what I was looking at. Then I realized the camera wasn't coming from my laptop. It was pointed at me from somewhere behind the television. I turned around, nothing. The screen showed the room from a slightly different angle. I could see the side of my face. I could see the couch, the kitchen entrance, the hallway, and then I noticed something that made my stomach drop. There was a person standing at the end of the hallway. I turned toward the hallway. Nobody was there. I looked back at the laptop. The figure was still standing there. I couldn't see their face. They were completely motionless. I stepped toward the hallway. The figure on the screen didn't move. I took another step, still nothing. Then the figure slowly raised one hand. I stopped. The screen displayed a message. "He can see you." I stared at the hallway. Nothing. Then another message appeared. "Turn around." I didn't. I stood there for maybe 30 seconds. My heart was pounding so hard that I could hear it. Then the screen went black. The live stream disappeared. The website returned to its original page. One sentence appeared. "You should have left the first time." I grabbed the laptop. I shut it. I unplugged it. Then I pulled the battery charger from the wall. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I took the laptop to a computer repair shop. I told the technician that I thought someone had accessed my computer remotely. He checked everything. He found nothing obvious. No remote control software. No strange user accounts. No unusual files. He told me the machine looked normal. Then he asked why I was worried. I didn't tell him about the website. I didn't tell him about the photograph. And I definitely didn't tell him about the live stream. I just took the laptop home. That afternoon, I received another message. This time it wasn't a photograph. It was a text. "We know you checked the computer." Then another. "We know you asked for help." Then a third. "Now we know you're ready to leave." I stared at the messages. Then my phone buzzed again. A final message appeared. "So we'll show you what happens to people who leave." There was an attachment underneath. A video. I didn't want to open it, but I did. The video showed a man sitting alone in a dark room. His face was blurred. He was staring at a computer screen. The same black website was visible in front of him. The video lasted 20 seconds. Then the man looked directly toward the camera and said something. I couldn't hear him. The audio had been removed, but I could read his lips. He said, "It's not a website." The video ended. I sat there staring at the screen. Then I noticed something in the final frame. Behind the man was a wall, and on that wall was a calendar. The date circled in red was tomorrow. The exact date the website had shown me. I checked my own calendar. Tomorrow was the date, and underneath the date I had written nothing, yet somehow, the website already knew what was going to happen. I looked back at the laptop. The screen was still off. Then from inside the closed laptop, I heard a notification sound. Once, then again, and a third time I didn't open it, because by then I understood something. The website wasn't waiting for me to visit anymore, it was waiting for me to react. And whatever was supposed to happen tomorrow, it had already started. I didn't open the laptop, I didn't even touch it. I sat on the other side of the room until the notification sound stopped. Then I unplugged everything. The router, the laptop, my phone charger. Anything connected to the internet, I wanted silence. For the first time since this started, I had no screen in front of me. No messages, no photographs, no website, just silence. I stayed awake until sunrise. When morning came, I took the laptop and my phone to a friend who worked in cybersecurity. I told him everything, not the story, everything, the website, the photographs, the live stream, the messages, the video, and the strange date. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he asked me one question. Did you ever give that website permission to access your camera? No. Did you install anything? No. Did you download anything? No. He looked at me for a few seconds. Then he said something I didn't want to hear. If someone really had access to your devices, we'd probably find something. He checked the laptop, then the phone. He examined the browser history, extensions, network settings, recently installed applications and system logs. Nothing. There was no obvious malware. No remote access software. No strange administrator account. Nothing that explained the live stream. He even checked the photograph metadata. That was when things became stranger. The photograph of my apartment had been stripped of almost all its metadata, but there was one piece of information still attached. The image had been created at exactly 11:43 p.m., the same time displayed on the photograph. My friend looked at me. Where were you at 11:43? At the convenience store. How do you know? Because I remember checking the time. He looked at the photograph again. Then he asked me something else. Did you take any pictures while you were there? No. Did anyone have access to your phone? No. He leaned back. This doesn't prove anything. I knew what he meant. There were explanations. Someone could have followed me. Someone could have taken the photograph from across the street. Someone could have obtained information from my phone through some other method. None of it required anything supernatural. But there was still one problem. The website had known about the photograph before I received it. And I had never uploaded that photograph anywhere. My friend told me to change every password I had. I did. Email, social media, banking, cloud storage, everything. Then I bought a new phone. I wiped the old laptop completely. I even changed my home router. For the next 3 days, nothing happened. No messages, no strange websites, no photographs. I started believing it was over. Then on the 4th night, someone knocked on my apartment door, 3 slow knocks. I looked through the peephole. Nobody. I waited. Another knock. I didn't open it. Instead, I called the building's security desk. They checked the hallway camera. A few minutes later, the security guard called me back. He said there was nobody outside my apartment. I asked him to send me the footage. He did. I watched it on my phone. The hallway was empty. But at exactly 2:17 a.m., the video froze for 3 seconds. When it resumed, there was something lying outside my door, a small black envelope. I hadn't seen it through the peephole. I opened the door only after the security guard came upstairs. The envelope contained a single sheet of paper, nothing else. Written on it were 6 words, "You should have STOPPD looking." Underneath was a username, the same username that had originally posted the dark web link. I searched for it. The account didn't exist. My friend told me not to investigate, so naturally, I did. I returned to the forum where I had originally found the link. This time I searched through archived posts. Buried deep inside an old discussion, I found something. A user had written about the same website. Their post was almost 2 years old. They described receiving photographs, they described being watched, they described a video. And then they mentioned something that made my hands go cold. They had received the exact same date, the date that was now circled on my calendar. I kept scrolling. There were 3 more people talking about the website. Different countries, different usernames, different years, but the same pattern. Someone finds the link, the site asks questions, the site reveals private information, then the person receives photographs, then a date appears, and after that, the posts stop. Every single one. I found one final comment beneath the oldest post. It was from someone claiming to have tracked the website. They said the site wasn't hosted on one server. It moved constantly, different addresses, different encryption methods, different versions, but the same content, the same questions, the same messages. And according to that person, the website had existed in some form for more than a decade. Then came the sentence that changed everything. The site isn't looking for victims, it's looking for people who will keep looking. I stopped reading. Because I suddenly understood what had happened to me. The website didn't need to hack everyone. It didn't need to control cameras. It didn't need supernatural powers. It only needed curiosity. Every time someone received a message, they searched for an explanation. Every search gave whoever operated the site more information. Every investigation connected another piece, and every frightened person who talked about it created another trail for the next person to follow. It was a machine built out of curiosity, and I had been feeding it, so I stopped completely. I deleted every account connected to the investigation. I destroyed the old laptop. I changed my phone number. I moved out of the apartment. I stopped visiting the forum. I stopped searching the username. I stopped looking for the website. For several months, nothing happened. Eventually, life started feeling normal again. I got a new apartment in another city. I found a new job. I made new friends. I didn't tell anyone about the website. I didn't want to give it another thought. Then, almost 8 months later, I received a package. There was no return address. Inside was a photograph. I almost threw it away. Then I looked at it. It was a photograph of me, standing outside my new apartment, taken from across the street. I stared at it for a long time. There was no date, no message. Nothing written on the back, just the photograph. I immediately called my friend. He told me not to respond, not to search, not to investigate, and most importantly, not to give whoever sent it the reaction they wanted. So I didn't. I put the photograph in a drawer. And I never opened that drawer again. At least that's what I told myself, because 3 months later something happened that I still can't explain. I was cleaning my apartment when I found an old external hard drive. It belonged to my previous laptop. I had forgotten about it. I almost threw it away. Instead, I plugged it into an old computer that wasn't connected to the internet. The drive contained almost nothing: old photographs, documents, deleted files. Then I found a folder I didn't recognize. It was named 404. Inside was one file, a video. I knew immediately what it was, the video from the dark web, the one I had watched months earlier, except this version was longer. The original had lasted 20 seconds. This one lasted nearly 2 minutes. I pressed play. The same man was sitting in the dark room. The same computer, the same website, the same blurred face, but this time the video continued after he looked toward the camera. He leaned forward and spoke. The audio was quiet, but this time I could hear it. He said, "They don't watch you through the camera." He paused. "They watch what you do after you think you're being watched." Then he looked directly into the camera and said, "That's how they find you." The screen went black. I thought the video was over. Then white text appeared. Subject 17. I stared at the screen. Then another line appeared. Status, STOPPED. I didn't understand until I saw the final line. Next subject pending. The video ended. I immediately unplugged the computer. I didn't touch the hard drive again. I gave it to my friend. He destroyed it. And for the first time, I accepted that I might never know who was behind the website. Maybe it was one person. Maybe it was a group. Maybe it was nothing more than an elaborate system built by people who understood exactly how curiosity works. But there was one thing I know. The website wasn't powerful because it could see everything. It was powerful because it could make you believe it could. And once you believed that, you started showing it everything yourself. I haven't searched for the site since. I haven't looked for the username. I haven't tried to find anyone else who experienced it. But sometimes, late at night, I still think about that final message. Next subject, pending, because I never found out who Subject 16 was, and I never found out why the site chose me. That is the one question I still can't answer. Maybe it was random, maybe somebody knew me, or maybe the website was simply waiting for another curious person to click the same link I clicked, and if that link still exists somewhere. I hope whoever finds it next has enough sense to close the page, because curiosity isn't always harmless. Sometimes, something is waiting for you to look back. That was the end of this story. If you've ever experienced something you still can't explain, or have a strange story of your own, send it to Tales of the Dark. Your story could become the next nightmare featured on this channel. If you are new here, subscribe to Tales of the Dark, where every story gives you a nightmare.